talking before, it's not only the food, it's also our sleep, if we exercise or not, the quality of our relationships, and it's all combined to have a good and healthy lifestyle. So that's more or less what I've been doing the past few years as a health coach. So I focus first on the nutrition, but then on all these aspects as well to have a holistic health approach. So today we're gonna discuss and we're gonna see how to read a label in the different kind of foods we eat, why it's so important, the industries, the tricks that they made on us so that we don't realize actually what we're eating. Sometimes it's so tough to choose because, well, there are all these things going on. Also how to read and understand the ingredient list, and then in the last couple of minutes we're gonna realize that it's the same either with the food and the cosmetics and the things we put in our body. Even though I'm not an expert on this last topic, it's quite related and it affects our hormones in the same way that it can affect with the food we eat. So first of all, I will introduce myself. My name is Juan, come from Argentina. I was born 30 years ago. Argentina, maybe you might heard about, maybe not. We're famous because of our beef, it's really good. Red wine. What else? We drink mate, which is a kind of tea. Corruption also is famous. Unfortunately, yeah. Since I was born, we have financial crisis. It's insane, but it's like that. And football, yeah. We have Messi, Maradona, really popular, and yeah. My background actually started with football. I love football, but I had some issues with my body because I wasn't paying attention either to nutrition and the sleep and the lifestyle. But when I start to change this, of course everything went better. So I've been researching and studying nutrition for around 10 years, first by my own. Hopefully and luckily now we have many information around, but at the same time maybe too much. So I try to filter a little bit of all the information around. And then it became my career, it's my passion, and luckily I've been working with some clients in the last couple of years, and I can guarantee you that if you have a good and proper diet based on whole nutritious foods, your whole life can get better. As I told you, your relationships, you will get better mood, more energy, you will feel much better, and actually everyone should feel like this without any health issue, without any sleeping problem. But well, unfortunately the food is really related to all these issues. So we're gonna start first the disclaimer. So if you have any health condition, just check with ask your doctor, even though I also believe that nowadays most of the doctors may have a old way of thinking, old school, and there's enough evidence that show you that with the diet we can reverse most of the issues that are arising on our health. So we will see this as well. And we're gonna start first. Okay, what's food? It's really important to know. According to the Oxford Dictionary, so any nutritious substance, anything that provides us nutrition, either humans, animals, or plants, we eat or drink in order to maintain life and grow. Also can be described as anything that gives us energy to survive. Okay, so then we have different kind of foods. We have whole foods, processed food, and ultra processed foods. So I will explain you a little bit the difference and why it's so important to consume in most of our meals real whole foods and avoid the other ones. So what are whole foods? I usually say anything that comes from nature. So we have an animal, we have a plant, a tree, nut, anything that grows on the ground, easy, that's a whole food. I also heard one that everything that has a father or a mother is a whole food. Might sound weird, but it's a good way. Sorry? Everything that has either a father or a mother, father, mother, is a whole food, and yeah, it can sound cruel sometimes, but it's like this. And according to the definition, anything that hasn't been processed or has no additives or artificial substances. Yep. I forgot to mention, if you have any question, maybe you write down, and when we finish, I can answer as regards this or as regards anything related to nutrition. Then we have the processed foods. Okay, these foods have been, as the name said, processed in any of these processes, either washing, cleaning, heating, drying. What's the thing here? Some of these processes might alter the composition of the food. So for example, if you grab a, let's say a cucumber, you wash it, clean it, you cut it, and you package it, the composition will be the same. But some other procedures, like for example heating or cooking, even drying or dehydrating, can change the composition of the food. So this can make the food sometimes, even gonna still be healthy, it can have much more calories, and at the same time, if you cook it with bad quality oils, it's gonna be from a whole food that is healthy, it's gonna be completely unhealthy. So this will depend. And then we have the ultra processed foods. In my opinion, they shouldn't be called foods because actually they don't, the big difference with the others is that they don't provide us nutrition. So they are mainly most from substances that come from food, but at the same time they don't provide us, again, any nutrition. So we have the starches, the fats, the added sugars, and they're all combined, and well, we'll see how and why this combination may be really dangerous for us. Sometimes they can contain artificial colors and flavors, stabilizers. We will see how to distinguish them in the food we eat. So here we have this chart. It's easy, you more or less may know the difference between a whole food, then the processed food, and then the when it's ultra processed. If your diet is based on whole foods, for example, we have a steak or almonds, it doesn't matter if you eat meat or not. Sometimes the process cannot alter the composition, so you see the ground beef or the almond flour, it's going to be exactly the same nutritious density and the same amount of minerals and vitamins. But then when we go to the top of the chart, when we add added sugar, refined grains and vegetable oils, that's where the problems arise. So we see the cheeseburger from McDonald's, let's say. The bun, the cheese, the oils, everything is bad quality, the same as, for example, the almond flour cookie. It's not the same if you do it at home and you know what you are putting inside. Maybe you use dark chocolate and maybe you buy it somewhere and it's not the best quality of the oils, of the chocolate. This example that I would like to show you also, for example, you have the kale. Some people believe, okay, now I buy the kale chips, which are on the top of the chart and below the chart. And even though they might look really healthy, the quality of the ingredients they use, they make it a ultra processed food, and we shouldn't consume them every day. And the last example, for example, here we have the apples. What's the thing? An apple, whole food, it's amazing. The problem is either when we process it with apple juice or apple sauce, the sugar becomes, we have a higher response in the insulin, and it's, well, can be dangerous at some point. Might not be recommendable for every day unless you're an athlete and you need these spikes of insulin. And I always say the same, it's really easy to drink an apple juice, an orange juice for 4 or 5 oranges or apples, and actually you're missing the fiber, which might be the most important part of the food. So from these foods down, the less we consume in our everyday life, the better. Of course, sometimes we might get a potato pie, a sweet potato pie, apple pie in a birthday. Okay, once a while is good. The problem that lately most of our diet is based on these kind of foods. And this study shows that during these 14 years of the study, the consumption of these foods raised in developed countries, so countries like yours guys that are developed, by 50%. But then in undeveloped countries, like for example here or in my country, the consumption per capita raised between 100 and 300%, which is a lot. And you might see every day in the street people just consuming these ultra processed foods. Then we have here the link to the study. Then if you are interested in any study, I can just share with you. And then we can see here the problem with this consumption of foods. There's a real epidemic of obesity, so many people are worried nowadays about corona, but obesity is killing much more people since 40 years ago, when nobody's taking real measures, so people are not so aware about this. This study, I think, is on the US, but well, it shows us a good image. Another thing that I want to explain before we go to the label reading, I always say the same example. If we eat, for example, chicken breast, broccoli, and olive oil, the only one that's going to benefit is going to be ourselves. Nobody gets benefit of a healthy person. So there's a little profit for the industry. And then when we add the sugar, refined oils, refined flours, companies make much more profit, and the result is sick people that also they consume medicine, they consume health. So it's a real big thing about the nutrition and the quality of the foods we eat. I explained this in my last presentation that I did here, much detail. If you want to see it, then I can share as well. So most of these big ultra processed food companies are supported or sponsored by the American Heart Association, the American Diabetes Association. So all this big, all the money is here. So that's the problem with this kind of diets. So going back to the ultra processed foods, what are some characteristics? You might know already, but they are cheap. Sometimes I go to 7-Eleven and I see this bag of cookies might be cheaper than some piece of fruit. So of course, some people, if they don't have so much money, they will buy the cheapest thing possible. So it's a real issue. I know that in the States, for example, a bottle of Coke is cheaper than a bottle of water. So it's really crazy, but it's like this, the system. At the same time, they are really tasty. I don't know if you try, of course, these kind of foods. The thing is that they are made in labs and factories. There are a group of scientists, nutritionists, analyzing the flavor, the texture, the sound. For example, when you open a can of Coke and you listen that sound and you, wow, I need this. You open a bag of chips and you listen the sound and the crunchiness. Everything is studied. There's a group of people just trying to make the best combination possible to sell us these products. And I read a phrase that is here, that we have become very good at exploiting our own weaknesses. That's so sad, but it's the truth. Many people just are focused all the time on creating these products and at the same time trying to make the biggest profit possible. As I explained you before, these products, they lack of nutrition. They have fat, they have carbs, they may have other nutrients, but they don't provide us vitamins, minerals, fiber, which is the most important of the food we eat. Of course, it's important amount of carb, fats, and protein, but these kind of foods don't provide them. And another issue is that they are everywhere. So everywhere you go, you might see an advertisement or this ultra processed food. There are celebrities that are sponsored by these companies. Like for example, I know Messi and Ronaldo, famous football players, they might promote Pepsi, PepsiCo, the Lay's, etc. And also, if you realize or you knew it, when you go to the supermarket, usually these products, anything is just random, everything is controlled. So you will go and they're going to be on this height. Maybe I'm a little taller for Thai, so they're going to be at this height. So it's much easier that we buy them. Every time that I go rimping supermarket here, I want to buy a peanut butter, and all the processed ones are on here, and when I want to pick the one that I like, that is no sugar, no additives, I have to like squat and go here, and you cannot see it. And well, unfortunately it's like this. If you are not aware of all these things about the marketing strategies, you might end up buying these things without even realizing. Also, the last thing about supermarkets, when you go to the cashier to pay, you will see the sweets. This also study, these kind of products trigger our compulsive impulse. So the same, we might not even think about it, we just grab it, eat it, and without realizing we already take this inside our bodies. So, and what's the problem? As I told you before, they produce most of the health issues come from the overconsumption of these ingredients, for example, added sugars, refined grains, refined oils, or additives like MSG. And at the same time, they're pro-inflammatory. Now I'm going to explain you a little bit more about the health issues. So, for example, here we see the link between sugar and inflammation that, let's say, I explained it in detail in my last presentation, more related to health. But we can see that each organ of the body, when we have excess of these products, might get really harmed, and it's really dangerous. And again, most of these products have hidden sugar. Then, what is also, and I will explain maybe in all of my presentation, I usually explain the same. What's the biggest problem? These products, as I told you, are pro-inflammatory. Why? We have two different types of oils. What I call the natural, or the ones that come from whole foods, and the polyunsaturated that are made mechanically, they are made in factories. So for you to understand easier, for example, we have a coconut, an avocado, and an olive. When we press them with our hands, at some point we're going to get the oil. So even though it's not a whole food because it's processed, it comes from a whole food, so they're the healthier options. There's a thing, I don't know if you heard about, there has to be a balance in the ratio omega-6 and omega-3. Usually these oils have a ratio 1:1, 2:1, 3:1, up to 4:1 from omega-6 to omega-3, which is what we need to have a healthy system. The problem with the ones over here, sometimes they can be 20:1, 50:1, 100:1, that this triggers the inflammation. At the same time, these kind of oils on the right side, they get oxidized really quickly. So this oxidation also, it's really harmful for our body, our cells, everything. And as I told you, as these ones are made naturally, all the ones here, soybean oil, corn oil, cottonseed, canola, they are made in a factory. You cannot get oil from this. They're called vegetable oils, but you cannot get oil from here. They have to go, for example, canola oil has to go for 18 different stages in a factory until we get the oil. So that's the way to realize that it's not healthy at all. And the best way to realize, you go to a supermarket, these oils over here is going to be 10, 20 baht per liter, and the other ones over there is going to be over 100. So if you have the choice, I will always suggest you to buy the ones on the left side. And what's the problem? We'll see now in all these processed foods, they use these oils basically because of the price. Everyone want to make a profit. If you go to any street food, unfortunately, they will use these oils. And if you eat them once a while, okay, there's not such a big deal. The problem is when your diet is based on this kind of inflammatory oils.
Can I ask something about the oil? Or
Yeah, well, you can ask, the only one. You can write, yeah.
what is the difference? Because with olive oil I can taste it. I bought this extra virgin.
Yes.
For like, oh my gosh. I was like,
Was
this
expensive.
Is not
Yeah.
But you buy the big one, right? So you only have to buy it once. And I tasted it's really tasty. It's really good. But like with coconut oil, I'm looking at the one that's extra virgin
Yes.
or whatever, and the other one, and one is like.
Well, always is better if it's extra virgin. It's going to be more expensive.
But that's limited in taste, but in coconut oil, is it always just like nutrition-wise equally good?
Yeah, even though it's usually coconut oil is high in saturated fats, people used to, how say, they were blamed to cause many heart issues, and actually it's not like that. So there should be any problem with the coconut oil. The thing is, sometimes some coconut oils are natural, so they have a little bit of coconut taste, and you can find the unflavored version. I don't know what they do, but they take the flavor, so it's just without any flavor. For cooking, depending on what and how you cook. So I usually recommend coconut oil for cooking, and if for dressing, olive oil because of the taste. Olive oil sometimes might be like too invasive in the flavor of the food that you cook. If you're gonna use just a little bit, it's okay. And of course, the less you cook, the less, for example, if you can avoid frying, well, it's gonna be better. Nowadays, for example, you have an air fryer, so you don't need the oil to cook, and you get the same flavor, same texture. Of course, it's much more expensive than a pan and oil, but well, that's the option. So we go here. Most of the health issues will arise when we have excess of sugars or these kind of oils, and maybe we don't realize, and we go to the doctor and we start taking some medicine and this and that. And if the problem was caused by a poor diet, we can fix it with a proper diet. Of course, it's going to take some time to the body start to make this change, but yeah, all of these issues might be either reversed or improved by a good and healthy diet based on whole foods. So here we're going to see some examples, the foods that are highest in sugar. What's the problem? Not the sugar that is natural, for example, in fruits, vegetables, in some of these products. The problem that in all these products, the sugar is hidden. So we will see the different names that they use to hide the sugar. For example, in some yogurts that I will show you, they remove the fat, but they add sugar, so they make it more tasty. Without the fat, it's not gonna be tasty. Salad dressing, sauces, cereals. Well, most of these products usually they're packed with sugar. Here we have another study that shows that there are 200,000 deaths per year due to the sugary drinks. So here is the countries that have the most per million adults, how many people die. So Mexico is number 1, and now we're going to see why this is important. Then we have Argentina, we're over here, and Thailand is really high. Yes, we're one of the highest countries where they have the consumption of these products. I remember when I was a kid, or my family told me this was like a luxury product in all times. Just when there was a meeting, a gathering, somebody came with one of these drinks, and of course, once a while, it's not so risky. The problem is people drinking this every day, especially kids. So in Mexico now they came with this new labeling. I will show you a product now. So it's by law they have to put excess of calories, excess of sugars, excess of fat. If it contains caffeine, better to avoid in kids. Contains sweeteners, not good for kids. So this is, well, really an improvement, but at the same time many people had to die to make these changes in the system. So now we see, for example, sorry for the quality of the image, but now this is a kind of Coke in Mexico, which is really an improvement. And many countries, I know in Argentina they're fighting, but it's kind of tough that somebody do something about it. So after this introduction of the qualities of the ingredients of the foods we eat, we're gonna see more or less a couple of tips on how to read the label and know what's inside these products. So again, if you have any question, write it down and then we can discuss. The first thing that I want to explain, do you all know more or less what's a calorie? So for example, the first example, even though they have the same amount of calories, a banana will provide us more fiber, potassium, many nutrients, and then the cookie, there will be like empty calories. Let's call it a mix of fat, sugars, these oils that we've seen. And what's the biggest difference? Maybe if we eat a banana, we're going to be full and we don't need to eat more. And when we eat this kind of processed foods, we cannot eat just one cookie. We're going to eat the whole package because they are designed for that. All this mixture, as I told you, of flavors, textures, things going on in your mouth. Well, if you try them, they're amazing, but we shouldn't consume them every day. The same example here we have, for example, avocado, the same cookies or apple and a piece of cake. So the important thing here is that not all calories are created equal. I like to put an example as if each piece of food we eat is like a piece of information to our body, to our genes, to our DNA. So you can feel the difference when we put whole foods or these, as I call, pseudo foods. Our body doesn't understand what you are putting inside, and all these things gonna go inside each cell, inside each organ. So little by little, the whole body start messing up. We have the immune system is weaker, and well, basically because this, again, each piece of food is a piece of information for each cell. Again, here the same example. That's if you eat this meal at any restaurant, you might even then want an ice cream because they're designing us to overeat. And then when we have the fruits, we have a tuna sandwich, a salad, you might not even finish it, and you will be so full that you won't feel the need to eat anything else. So this is the biggest difference between these kind of foods. Here, the same example. The nuts will provide us lots of vitamins, healthy fats, lots of things, and then just if we eat 2 of these Kit Kat, won't provide us anything interesting. And now we'll see exactly what's inside them. Remember when I told you at the beginning, also we have to be aware, because it's not the same a raw banana than a banana that might look like it's dried. Sometimes we'll see an example as well, but it's dried, but then it's deep fried and lots of sugar. So sometimes it might not be so healthy, and we see the difference in calories: 100 of raw fruit versus 100 of dry or cooked fruit, the amounts of sugars. So we have to be careful. Well, and this study showed a little bit what I told you, that there are pieces of information. So when we eat whole foods, there's much more energy available. We can get the more calories and energy available for our body when we eat the whole foods, and when we eat the processed foods, the availability of energy is less. So we see here the 2 examples. So all this said, we're gonna see 5 rules that I more or less designed to realize if it's a healthy whole food or if it's a processed or ultra processed, and to realize if it's healthy or not. There are some examples of ultra processed food that might be healthy, but maybe 1% more, 99% is going to be unhealthy for sure. So first of all, the first rule, if it has a label, might be unhealthy for sure. So whole foods, they don't contain labels. A piece, as I showed you before, some almonds, a piece of beef, fruit, okay, they don't have labels when you buy them. So that's the easiest way of realizing. Then when we start checking the ingredient lists, if it has more than 5 ingredients, even for sure it's a ultra processed, and it might be unhealthy as well. If the ingredients that you see, you haven't heard them in your life, they have strange names, that we will see some, again, it's unhealthy. The only ingredients they need to have to be a whole food have to be things that you already know, that we will see now. Also, in the ingredient list, this is really important, the ones that appear first are the ones that are more percentage or more quantity, and they are not always stated. I will show you some examples, but sometimes it's going to be between brackets, the percentage, and some other times it's going to just say, for example, wheat, sugar, blah, blah, blah. So you have to kind of guess, that's why it's a little bit tricky sometimes. And this is also really important. If the package or if the label has words as organic, natural, green, light, slim, diet, low fat, low sugar, detox, digestive, etc. All these fancy names that look healthy. Most of the times they're going to be ultra processed and unhealthy, of course. So
Even if it says natural and organic on it.
I'm doubting about that one.
I will, then you write down, but I will show you some examples. And
Whole foods is organic is the
well,
usually it means that that's the whole discussion about the certification of
yes.
organic. That's
well, the thing is that there is not a rule, so any food can. I will show you now some examples of the ingredients. And for example, this, stevia is a sweetener. Okay, it's natural. It's like a tea. Has 0 calories. It provides you lots of taste. So when we go, we see the package here. It's green. You see the flower. Looks so healthy. This is really healthy, of course. Then we go here to the back side. We have the first. I usually try to see the ingredients. So the first ingredient is lactose. Lactose comes from milk, but it's a form of sugar. Then we have the steviol glucoside, so 14%. And then we have natural flavors, vanilla and sugar.
Well, it's not
it's not really stevia. It's not stevia then. It's made of stevia. That's the
Well, so we go here per 100 grams, 77 grams are sugar. So, yeah.
no, it's not stevia.
Well, you have to read the label, that's why I realized.
Well, we're here.
Yeah, that's why I realized one going.
It's stevia. It's not stevia.
It's not
You have
stevia,
to.
it's stevia. It says that.
Sometimes.
Very small letters.
Yeah, you have to read the.
And I mean, at my age, and I don't bring my reading glasses, I'm standing there, I can't even see the difference between the Thai and the English.
Well,
You need your
I'm
reading
never gonna
glasses.
find it.
luckily nowadays most of the products have Thai and English or other, but that's why I try to encourage people to read the label, because it's all this hidden. And for example, here is lactose, then we'll see maltose, then we see the whole.
But also sugar in there,
Yeah, you see there the 77 grams per 100 grams. So it's. Yeah, it's true, and it's not that. So this one also is. I like this example. I showed it in the last presentation. So we see this plant butter. So plant butter actually doesn't exist. It's margarine, but with a fancy name. We see dairy-free and with olive oil. You see the olives here. This is so healthy. If it has olive oil and no dairy. Then we go to the ingredients, and you can see by your own: soybean oil, palm oil, salt. So not only that we don't have any olive oil, sometimes it can have like 1%, but 0, no olive oil. And then we have, it contains milk and soy. So at the same time it should be olive oil free and with dairy. So it's, yeah.
It's a library.
Well, yeah, exactly. And you see the colors.
It says dairy free,
Yeah.
then it says contains milk.
And I forgot to tell you, usually here there are the allergens, so milk, soy, peanuts, gluten. It should all be stated here at the end of the ingredient list. So, for example, somebody that has dairy intolerance, you might eat this because dairy free, but just this little bit of milk can cause you the allergy and you get the rashes.
It must be illegal.
Well,
It
that's.
says dairy.
And this company is quite one of the. Yeah.
I think in Europe it's legal now to show false information. So
Yeah.
they will try to.
Well, this is kind of recent
Yeah.
where I took the
This one is
information.
really bad because here says dairy free and dairy contains milk.
Yeah, and at the same time we play the same olive oil. Sometimes they have a little bit, so they can put it, but at the same time you see the soybean oil, palm oil, which is the worst. So that's why it's important. Then this example, remember I told you all the kale chips. So we see this fruit crisp made of apple, and they have there is not so clear, but it says 1 of the 5 pieces recommended a day. So some people might realize, okay, if I eat 1 of these, maybe I can eat 5 a day, and I'm getting the 5 pieces of fruit, and I'm really healthy. So then when we go to the ingredients, it's not so clear as well, but the first one is apple, the second one is palm oil, and the third one is maltose, another form of sugar. So basically they are pieces of apple fried in bad quality oils and packed with sugar. So that's the issue. If somebody is not aware, they might be eating this, believing it's really healthy, and at the same time is the worst that they can eat. Then we're gonna see, so the added sugar, as we saw before, lactose, maltose. The worst of all and the cheapest one is high fructose corn syrup, sucrose, fructose, glucose, dextrose, cane sugar. All these might sound as healthier, and the industry knows, but at the same time it's exactly the same as the refined sugar. Also, it's not there, but honey, even though it's natural, well, it depends on what are your objectives as regards health, but it can have the same insulin response. So I would put it on the same group of added sugars. So the first example of ingredient list to compare, we have this is a natural yogurt, and the other one is a flavored yogurt. So just as a quick view, you see the amount of ingredients. Usually a product that comes from dairy should have the milk and the cultures. Usually they are not the names here, but here they mention them. Okay, so the live active cultures to make the product. And on the other side, we have the same product but flavored. So we see the second ingredient is sugar, then we have blueberries, that's fine, but modifying cornstarch, high fructose corn syrup, again more sugar. And then we have all that ingredients that you might never ever heard of. Well, all that is in your food. And again, once a while can be not so dangerous, but most of the time we consume these yogurts, and yeah, they taste so good, of course, because they have all these hidden and added ingredients. This example, for example, they have the amount of the percentage of product stated in between brackets, which is good. This is, I guess, a muesli that you told me you have for breakfast. So again, be careful. First ingredient, rolled oats, okay? Second, glucose. So it's sugar, it comes from wheat, doesn't matter, sugar. Whole grain wheat, chocolate chips, sugar, vegetable oil. Then we keep on reading, wheat starch, sugar, okay? It's like every time they put something, they add sugar. Sunflower oil, more sugar. We keep on seeing invert sugar, honey. So imagine this. That's why sometimes this muesli, it's extremely tasty and you cannot stop eating because of the mix of all, sugars and the oils, and it doesn't come from a natural source. I will show you in some labels.
Mine is good.
Okay, good. Hey. So then we have not only the ingredient list, but the nutrition facts. So if the ingredients are interesting, okay, then we might go to the nutrition facts. If you see all this amount of sugars and added oils, well, the nutrition facts, I wouldn't even read them. I wouldn't buy that product first. But what we have here, and this is the most difficult thing sometimes, the serving size. So tricky, and even to me, sometimes I buy a product, I eat it, and then I realize that I get double or triple of the serving size because it wasn't so clear, the label. So in this example, also I think it was like a granola bar or something like that, 2/3 of a cup. So you have to be a scientist to know what amount you are eating. And well, then the servings per container, so you have to start to make these estimations. Then the calories, as I told you before, even though they're important, but what is most important is where these calories come from. Then in this example, we have the total fat, the carbs, and the protein. What I would suggest for a product to be interesting, to have some amount of fiber and have the less amount of added sugar possible. So for example, in this label here, 10 grams of added sugar is not so much, so you can have it once a while. And also if it can have the higher amount of protein, the better, but usually these products don't contain high amounts of protein. And in the end, we have the amount of vitamin, calcium, iron, but in these products it's not a significant quantity, so for you to take it into consideration. So just don't pay much attention to this, pay attention to the ingredients and on the quality of them. So we'll see now a little bit more of examples now that we know this already. Of course, most of you know that this might be unhealthy, but we'll see the Nestle Nesquik. Here in Thailand we have the Ovaltine, which is the same brand, but I didn't find the picture like this. Kontai chop Ovaltine, they like it. So we see here chocolate, low-fat milk, then vitamins A and D. Okay. Then we go to the ingredients. The first ingredient is the low-fat milk, and then the second one is sugar. Then we see less than 2% is processed cocoa. So from the whole bottle, just a little bit, less than 2% is chocolate. So actually it should be called sugar milk and not chocolate milk, but well, this is how they put the name. And well, once we see the ingredients, we're going to see that the nutrition facts are not interesting, even though it has some protein coming from the milk, which might be good. But then we see from the 25 grams of carbs, 24 are added sugars, which is a lot. It's the maximum that we can have as adults per day. And imagine kids drinking this every day as part of a healthy breakfast. And well, it's completely the opposite. Then we'll see this example as well. Well, of course, most of you know also Oreos. They're tasty. I don't know if you would try them, but they're really good. And what do I want to say about? Well, some people, they say, oh, they are vegan, so we can have it on our vegan diet. Well, yeah, that's true. But when you see the ingredients, the first one is sugar. Then we have all this kind of canola oil, palm oil, soybean oil, all together. It's like all the bad things. Then we have the high fructose corn syrup, cornstarch. So of course it's not an interesting product at all. And then we can see the nutrition facts. But again, lots of added sugars, lots of fat, no protein. We see here the vitamins. Makes no significant. And you have to pay attention, especially in this kind of products, the serving size, because sometimes the serving size can be half package or half cookie. I even seen it, and no one will eat half of the cookie. But you have to be aware with that small details that will make the difference. Then, well, as most of you know, but basically Coca-Cola, you see the ingredients, water and sugar, which is high fructose corn syrup. I saw it was like a study, the most popular words around the world. So the first one was okay. If you go to any country around the world, you say okay, and everybody will understand what is it. And the second one was Coca-Cola. So around the world, if you say Coca-Cola, everybody would understand. And well, we saw already all the problems that this is causing. Again, we see the calories. Most of them come from the added sugars, which is well, not healthy at all. And nowadays we have an option, which is the zero sugar. Of course, it's going to be healthier to drink water, but if you're going to drink it once a while, and if you're making the transition from these sugary drinks, okay, I would recommend zero sugar, even though the ingredients, for example, aspartame might be stated as unhealthy in the dose that we consume it in this kind of drinks. I'm not saying that it's healthy, but it's in that dose is not so unhealthy. So if you have the option and you're really craving for a sugary drink, better go for the zero sugar. And well, if you can go for the water, it's going to be easier. At the same time, they contain caffeine, so you have to be aware. I didn't know when I was a kid, I have a caffeine, I was really sensitive, and as any kid, I drink sodas and I had a lot of issues going to sleep until one day, well, I don't know why I realized this has caffeine and the caffeine is ruining my life. But well.
The same with sugar. I know I have a friend in Sweden who is a doctor.
Yes.
And he's a very clever man. He has 4 children, and he says sugar doesn't make his kids hyper. And I'm like, I don't really believe that, because I see I've been a teacher for more than 15 years. I see kids coming with their sugary drinks
No,
Is it more a caffeine than a sugary thing that makes
depends on the drink, but for sure it's the sugar. As long as you drink the sugar, your insulin spikes like this. Maybe you know because you track it, but that's why you have this amount of energy. And what's the thing? When you have these spikes of insulin, then when it starts going down, your body's asking for more. So you start getting
you want to stay awake?
yeah, and you will see the kids all the time with the drink, then with the cookies, then with this sugar, sugar, sugar. So it's kind of
In England, 20 plus years ago, there was a big thing that with some of the orange drinks, it was the coloured additives, and it was the additives that were making the children hyper.
well,
And,
yeah.
in the end, I don't know whether it was outlawed, but the manufacturers actually took the additives out or changed them,
Yeah.
and it was just a calm.
Well, yeah, that's a real thing nowadays. I know that most of the countries, by law, most of these additives or these kind of ingredients are forbidden. So everything that is on the food is at some point safe for the consumption. The problem is that when we over consume these products, so most of these additives or things are forbidden, or sometimes we might see this example that Thai people love it. They are the mama. What's the main issue with this? Even though the ingredients, wheat flour, so it's refined grains, palm oil, really bad, but they have a MSG. So in most of the countries, MSG is forbidden. And here, no.
Any shop with
Yeah.
MSG.
You go to the supermarket and there's a bag like this for 20 baht, and then you taste this little thing. Tastes amazing. Yeah,
Enhance the, it's been studied.
yeah. It's
Your taste.
yeah, exactly. It's made for this.
That they put.
Yeah, in all the street food, most of them I know because Thai people told me. Maybe you can ask them, but if not, they will use not only the MSG but the sugar and the bad quality oil. So it's really an issue around the world, but I see it here all the time. So we have this added MSG. Then we can see the ingredient list, the nutritional information that is not going to be anything interesting because of the quality of the ingredients. And you also can realize for the price, these things cost 5 baht, 10 baht. So you can imagine the cost of the packaging, the cost of the marketing, what's going to be the cost of producing this food, this pseudo food. So it's of course it's going to be Aroy, but well, we're trying to take care of our health. So we have here the mama. What else? As I told you, the peanut butters. So we see this example, reduced fat. Over here, there's like a zoom. So usually these popular brands are usually the most unhealthy. When you want to buy the healthy, you have to do the squat in the supermarket. So they took some fat, you're gonna see in the ingredients, but they added corn syrup, more sugar, soy protein, hydrogenated oils. So we see there in the ingredient list as well. The second ingredient is corn syrup, so it's added sugar. Even though peanuts, they have some natural sugars, well, the problem is when they're added. So you might see, you have to check on the ingredients where this come from. That's why it's really important to read the labels. And this one is one of the Nutella. You might taste it, try it. Sometimes I see, for example, you have here in the label, it says an example of a tasty and balanced breakfast. They suggest you to drink milk, orange juice and Nutella, and I can guarantee you if you eat that for long term, you're going to be sick for the rest of your life. Why? Because we see here the first ingredient is sugar and the second palm oil. So this is going to be a tasty poison, call it Nutella. So we see the amount of sugar, we see the amount of palm oil. Well, some interesting, the milk can be the cocoa, the hazelnuts, but in the overall product, it's not interesting at all. And again, we see the nutrition fact. This product also gives us lots of calories. So the serving size, 2 tablespoons are 200 calories, which is quite a lot. And the problem is that we cannot stop eating this food because they trigger all our reward systems. So we see the ingredients already, and we have For example, here we have an example of cheese. I forgot to explain you this. When we have a ultra processed or a food, we have to ask ourselves, where was this product before? It was in a factory or if it was in nature? So for example, you have the case of cheese. Okay, cheese before being cheese was milk and it wasn't in nature, but it can be a good process. But first of all, we have to check the ingredients. Same as with the yogurt. We have the milk, water, butter, salt, the culture, and some stabilizers and preservatives, which, once a while cannot be so unhealthy. And you see that they're in the end of the list, not at the beginning. So then we can see it's a good amount of fat coming from the milk, some protein, almost no carbs. So for example, a piece of good quality cheese, if you can tolerate lactose, if you eat dairy, can be a good option. But then we have at the same time the refined and the processed version. So we see this cheese whiz, I don't know what is it. So the third ingredient is canola oil, maltodextrin, another form of sugar, food starch. Usually the low quality cheeses, they put starch to make them thicker, and of course because it's so cheap to add them starch, and this make the quality of the cheese not interesting at all. So we see the all amount of ingredients, so it's not an interesting option. And then we have this other option that even though it has lots of ingredients, this might be a little bit healthier than the other one because most of the bad ingredients are in the end, and it has just a little bit of modified corn starch, but then most of them come from natural sources. Of course, the suggestion will be buy good quality cheese. You will realize because of the price as well, here in Thailand it's really expensive, so you will see in the price, and these options usually are the cheapest. So in the price sometimes you can realize the quality. And one of the last ones, for example, the salad dressings. Here is where most of the sugar and the refined oils are. You can see the first ingredient is water, second vegetable oil, so they put soybean and canola, third ingredient sugar as maltodextrin, buttermilk sugar, more sugar, and less of 2% again, less of 2% of garlic, onion, all the other flavors. So what's the suggestion? It's so easy to make salad dressing with lemon, a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of oil. You can put the spices that you like. You can even go to Pinterest or Google healthy salad dressings. Many different options made with yogurt, maybe with egg yolk. There are unlimited options. The problem is it's so easy to buy this, and we see green goddess. So you think you're going to become the goddess of the salad eating this product, and well, it's not like this. You might become the goddess of sickness. And the last example of this couple of slides, I don't know if you heard about this, is a kind of new option for vegans, which is called Beyond Burger. It's a company, I don't know if this one, but it's a sponsor of, I think, Bill Gates, so one of these was in this company. Maybe I'm wrong, but was around there. So you see the product. I haven't tried them, but they told me it tastes exactly the same as beef, and it has the same texture when you bite them, the juice. They told me it's exactly the same as beef, but made of plant. The first thing that I want to show, this was real. I took it on the supermarket because I never saw it before. The price, 390 baht per 2 patties, which is quite a lot. It's really expensive. But well, if you can afford it, that's up to you. But then, what we were talking before, we're going to go to the ingredients. Let's see if this, I'm going to try this now. The pointer, yeah. So, you see here ingredients, first water, second one pea protein. If you're in a vegan or vegetarian diet, pea protein, rice protein, some bean protein might be interesting, so this can be a good option. But the problem is the third ingredient is canola oil. Then we have refined coconut oil, which is not a good option. The good option is when it's virgin or extra virgin. Rice protein, Then we have this, another form of sugar, potato starch, apple extract, as I show you, also another form of sugar with a fancier name, pomegranate extract, also more sugar, and the beet juice extract that this made, according to what I researched, makes this juiciness coming from the product. Then the nutrition facts might be, it's high in protein, it's low in carbs, low in fat, not low in fat, sorry, high in fat, but the problem is where this fat comes from. Most of it comes from these refined and unhealthy oils. So what I question myself or the people who consume this, you see the price, you see the amount of ingredients, do you think that this that comes from a vegan or natural source, you see all the ingredients, is healthier than just eating the real beef that is a whole food? So that's just for you to think about. And again, the price, 2 patties of the first one, almost 400 baht. And that day, well, I went and I bought ground beef. With 400 baht, you can buy like 1 kilo and a quarter. So it's, well, quite also different in the price. But, well, that's more or less what I want to explain with these couple of examples. So, now you know more or less, I hope you know the difference between the whole foods and the processed foods. My advice is try to base your diet in nutrient-dense whole foods. So again, if they come from nature, they're going to be healthy. So if your diet is based on these foods, you won't have all the health issues as I showed you before. But before we finish, I want to explain you last couple of examples. When I started getting aware of my health and the things that I put in my body, I used to use, I will show you because I brought it. The last time I used it was some time ago. Here, shy. So I used to be, I'm usually most of the time outside in the sun. I used to wear, this is a soothing body gel. Again, as we were talking before, it contains organic aloe vera, so this should be so healthy. I put it on my body, it makes me so good. Then sometimes they have, like, for example, here it has particles, I don't know what is it, but you see pieces of things, like the same in the toothpaste, sometimes these crystals, this is so good for me. But then you start seeing the ingredients, the same as with the food. So I will read a couple of them, but first one is aqua, maybe water, alcohol, glycol, triethonilamine, acrylates, and like 40 of these chemical compounds that are on these products. So I started to ask myself, well, what about the food? I know it already. What about the chemicals that come on all these products? And well, yeah, it's actually a fact that they can alter our hormones, and our hormones will dictate most of our health. If we have healthy hormones, our health is going to be good. But the problem is when you have these imbalances. For example, in women might cause imbalances we'll see now in the sexual hormones, in men with testosterone. So it's really, really bad what these things are causing in our body. So what are endocrine disruptors? They are these chemical compounds that can mimic the structural function of the hormones, and they can change the functioning of the body. In some countries, before they use BPA, which is bisphenol A, it was banned as an ingredient. So by law, it cannot be here. But it's in many, for example, plastic bottles or aerosols that we use. So when we buy, for example, here sometimes street food, they put it in plastic containers. Every time the plastic is heated, it releases this, which causes all these hormonal imbalances, which is really, really dangerous. So where are these compounds found? In cosmetics, the ones we use every day, in plastic when heated, in the pesticides they put to the food, in clothes, in pants when you cook with Teflon, some of that goes to the food. In the supermarket tickets, every time you get a ticket, they have this kind of compounds. So for us, maybe we might go once a while, okay. The problem is the people that work there all the time, getting in touch with these compounds. It's really unhealthy. I know in some countries in Europe, they are already been banned, but I guess, and here, of course.
What do you mean by supermarket ticket? The receipt?
Exactly, yes.
Oh, it's just the receipt at the end?
Yes. So try to, again, once a while, it's not so a big deal.
Is it unpaid or?
Yeah, the material they use for, I think for the printing, they have these compounds, yes. And GMO products and sanitizers. So I see people, of course, now with the corona, but all these gels, we put alcohol, all that goes inside our bloodstream, inside our body. I won't tell you it's like drinking a glass of vodka, but well, just little dose all the time. That might be, well, yeah, if you want to try. So the stats show that one woman uses 15 different cosmetics per day, and men in average like 7. So you start realizing the toothpaste, deodorant, perfume, for shaving, cream, I don't know, anything. And the average is 37 ingredients per product. So it's really, yeah, it's a real issue. So as I told you, how can they affect us? They send wrong messages to the brain. So I always say that it's like your computer having a virus. There's a strange thing going in the body after consuming these products. They alter the DNA. Remember what I told you, the food as a piece of information? Well, this going to be like the same. And they can cause imbalances, testosterone, vitamins, in the thyroid. Many people may have issues with the thyroid and might be caused, or this is one of the causes for sure, and you might know, and it's because of all the things we're putting in the body. In the worst case, they can even cause breast and skin cancer. I saw a study that compared people that exposed to the sun without the sunscreen and people with exposed to the sun with the sunscreen, and the ones that uses the sunscreen have real risk of developing cancer. So, well, there you realize that maybe the sunscreen is not working at all. There's a fear to the sun, and we are designed to be outside in nature to get sun, of course, in a proper dose, but these products are really harmful. And another study showed that if the mother have these issues, this one that I told you about the supermarket tickets, I also read that if they were pregnant, then the kids, when they born, they also have these issues already. So it's really important. So the question is how we can avoid them. Okay, first, don't buy them. Don't buy them anymore. All of the brands, for example, this one, Watson, but Avon, Nivea, Colgate, all of the popular brands, just go home and if you have them, just check. They have all these ingredients, so don't buy them. The option, if you can, buy organic or natural. They're going to be more expensive for sure, but you're investing in your own health and you will see the difference. And if you want to try, it's so easy. You can make homemade recipes. Again, you can check on Google, Pinterest. In my website, I have a article in the blog talking about this, how you can make with coconut oil, baking soda, and for example cinnamon, and you can use that for almost everything. We don't need all these things. The same marketing, famous people use them. We're gonna believe they're gonna be healthier and more beautiful, and it's actually the other way around. This is maybe ruining everything. So if you have any hormonal imbalance, well, of course you have to check with your doctor and make a test, but sometimes you can see if you have any symptoms. Nowadays it's easy. And the first thing that you should do, remove these products, start to buy organic, and the same with food. If you are consuming inflammatory products, inflammatory oils, well, try to start to eat a healthy anti-inflammatory diet, and in some cases you may need some supplements. But I've been working with some people, they were about to make a testosterone intervention because they realized, and they made tests, that it was really low. Well, we start paying attention. Okay, first we're going to remove this. The diet, we're going to start adding these compounds, like for example cholesterol. Cholesterol is really important in our sex hormones, eat more cholesterol coming from good sources. And after some time, he recovered. He was, until now, he's thanking me for making him realize. But most of the people will go to the doctor, make these expensive interventions, and they're not going to solve the problem from the root. We're going to try to, or what I usually try to encourage people is not to fix it temporarily, if not to solve the problem from the root, and you will see the results in your own health. So, yeah, just for closing, you might hear that we are what we eat. Yeah, that's true, but at the same time we are what we put in our body, even with the food inside or with anything that we put in our skin, with the cosmetics or anything we are using. So I like this quote about Einstein, that insanity is doing the same things and expecting different results. So if you have an unhealthy diet, or you are using these products and you have some of these issues, okay, please don't do the same, just try to change, and of course the results going to be different in your overall health and lifestyle. And if you don't put your health as a priority, who will do it? Nobody will do it for you. And lately companies and industries are doing it right now, so that's why you have to be careful and do it by yourself. That's the best advice I can give you. So again, the disclaimer, if you have any issue, and thank you, Hopkun Crab. So if you have any question, if you've written down as regards here or as regards any topic that you're interested, otherwise just you can contact me. There's my website to see what I do, and I've just recorded the video, so then I can share it as well. I can share with Chiang Mai Holistic website, and yeah, that's all. Thanks everyone for coming, and yeah, if you have any...
I have one question.
Yes,
about,
sure.
in